So, sport as a key pillar in today's society, and the reason why it is still at this big is sport is a way for people to socially interact with each other. So, lots of people go into sports to um, meet new people, find people with similar interests, and like just get to know people in a more broad sense. Sport can be taken in different forms and different meanings for different people. So Kobe Bryant is a great example of this. He trained every day, countless hours every day to be the best. So his meaning of sport was probably much higher than someone that was in a house league level of a sport. Sport has the power to unite people and to inspire people. So uniting people with fans going to the stadium, so watch the game live, be fans in a arena together, celebrate for your team together. It inspires people. Lots of kids will look up to certain athletes, have it be Sidney Crosby, LeBron James, Tom Brady, all these kinds of players. And sport can create hope for children when they only see despair. That is a quote from Nelson Mandela, and that kind of works with the other point. Lots of people may it be third world countries, they want to distract themselves from what's happening in their current world with sport, and sport provides a great cushion for lots of people to be able to distract themselves from it and kind of have a coping mechanism instilled in them. And sport is also a part of a lot of spheres. So it could be family, your family supporting you every step of the way, being right behind you, having your back. Economy, lots of places can form their city and their city's identity around that sports franchise. Media, there's lots of teams with Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all these different things to broadcast or say information about their team. The politics could be the voting for MVPs, voting for all stars, all that kind of stuff. And in education, there's lots of school teams, high school teams, university teams. So education also plays a big role in sport in today's age. There are lots of positives and negatives that come with experiences that happen in sport. Some of the positives include inclusion opportunities. So, for example, one of my friends from high school, he was in a wheelchair, so he wasn't necessarily able to play on the team because he didn't have enough strength in his arms to be able to shoot the ball. So, the team allowed him to do, he was allowed to be the team manager. So, whenever we would go to games, he would be on the sidelines. He'd give us pointers. He'd help the coaches with substitutions. So, allowing him to be a part of the team, even when it was a difficult task for him to do, there was still some wiggle room that we made for him. Um, Another point is building a positive environment even when there's negative outcomes. So, for example, let's say you're at a basketball game, someone shoots a free throw, they miss. Their teammates will always give them high fives like, hey, nice try, we'll make the next one. So that will boost the team morale and make sure that everyone's like, hey, you missed, don't worry, we'll get the next one. Doesn't matter if we miss one. Some of the negatives are the gender bias. So, for example, I worked at a summer camp, and I noticed whenever there was, say, a hockey game, there would be 8 boys on one team, 2 girls. There were way more boys than girls in the camp. So what happened was lots of the boys, unless they knew the girl personally, they wouldn't pass them the ball. So that caused lots of negatives where the boys would only pass the boys and the girls didn't get to prove their ability. So that could lower a kid's self-esteem so quickly, especially in an environment that's supposed to be fun for them. In the economic place in society, so let's say a kid joins a soccer team, he doesn't have the new top of the shelf cleats, and he goes to see his new teammates and they're like, oh, you have those Walmart shoes, we aren't going to let you play with us. So that could lower a kid's self-esteem very, very quickly. It'll make them feel like an outcast while the others feel superior over them just because they have better equipment. So the question is, for an activity to be considered a sport, it must be competitive. I believe that this is false for the following reasons. The first reason being that it depends on the age of the participant. So let's say it's 10-bit soccer. A kid is more focused on having fun rather than the competitive side of the sport. They don't really understand the concept of competition, so it's not nearly as much of an aspect as the aspect of having fun. It also depends on the skill level and the league that the person's in. So let's say we have house league and we have Division 1. Division 1 will be more competitive because people are trying to get to that next level. But with house league, it's more of a league that you can have fun, you can build relationships with people, and it's not nearly as competitive, so it doesn't need to be insanely competitive to be a sport. There's also ballroom dancing that could be competitive and non-competitive. Have it be in the Olympics, being competitive, going up against other countries, having judges there. When at a wedding, for example, there could be lots of ballroom dancing with no competition there because it's a wedding. It's not like you're going to be competing with John across the room to see who has the best dance moves. And one of the non-competitive sports is yoga, hiking, and paddleboarding. Those are sports that could be non-competitive or competitive, and lots of these sports have had success while not being competitive. You could go on a hike alone, you could do yoga alone, you could paddleboard for fun, you could go swimming for fun. So it depends on if someone is doing it individually, it couldn't be competitive because you aren't going up against anybody. The only reason it would be competitive is if you're timing yourself for a personal best. So the performance ethic in sport suggests that the end result is always the desired best player ever. So lots of kids will think that they need to be the best or they won't be a success. Another thing is that kids try to make themselves better and they don't work as a team. So a kid could be like, oh, I'm way better than you, so I'm going to lead the team. And that could have negative impacts because his teammates won't like him as much, and then they won't be able to play as well as a team and won't be able to have the same connections that you would if everyone works together. Lots of people strive for a personal best, so that will cause them to think that they're never good enough. So they'll keep trying to get that next career high, that next longest jump, whatever it may be, and that can have a very negative impact on people. And lots of kids forget to have fun in their sport, and all they care about is winning the game. So they will do whatever it takes to win, even if they aren't having fun. So with that, lots of people will forget to include the fun aspect of sport because they're too concentrated on being number one. And on the flip side of that, someone could have a perfect game, play amazing, and they still lose the game. That person will only focus on that loss, and that will always be a weight on their shoulders, oh, I played a great game, but we lost, so it doesn't matter. And that can have a very negative impact on lots of children in today's age. There are lots of ways that sporting opportunities have evolved over the last decade or so. And one of them is that sports were mainly male-driven at a time, and not a lot of women and girls were allowed to participate in sports. And now we see that women are being more involved in sport. The PWHL is a great example, is a great step forward in professional sports for women, and they had a very successful first season. Women at one time weren't able to run in marathons, so now lots of women are able to run in marathons, so that it shows how it is evolving now. There are lots of women coaches or assistant coaches in the NBA, NHL, NFL, wherever it may be. So that is another way that it has evolved for the gender. And sport is now accessible to all people. No matter if it's Paralympics, people can be amputees and still participate in sports. There's incorporations of wheelchair basketball into Olympics, not Olympics, sorry, Paralympics. And then there's also sledge hockey, so people in wheelchairs who are fans of hockey, they're able to play sledge hockey. And a great example of this is the Humboldt bus crash. So lots of those players still have the opportunity to take part in their sport, and even though in the past it wasn't even thought of that they could play sports again. And lots of equipment like sledge hockey sleds, wheelchairs for sports have been made to allow all of these people who may have restrictions in their body to play sports to be able to still participate in the sports that they enjoy and love. So there are lots of ways that sport and religion have intersected over the years. One of the examples being in the past, lots of Muslim women were not allowed to wear their hijabs or scarves in their sport because it wasn't a part of the uniform. And in lots of Muslim communities, it was not, women and girls were not given the opportunity to even participate in sports. And now there are lots of communities that have soccer programs, basketball programs, and they're allowed to now wear their hijabs and scarves as a part of their uniform. And that is a huge step forward in religion and sports. Another example is Kyrie Irving. He had ancestors in native tribes, and he would sage the basketball arenas that he was in before games to kind of cleanse the energy, make him feel balanced and stay connected with his teammates. It also made him feel safe and connected and protected by his ancestors. So lots of that religion can loop in with that. There are lots of traits and rituals that are a part of sport and religion that are similar. So, for example, there are stadiums like Madison Square Garden, Scotiabank Arena, Rogers Center. For sports, there's churches and wherever someone may do whatever they need to do for their religion, all those locations. For music, there's national anthems at the start of games, and there are hymns and choirs and religions. There are also heroism, worship. So for sports, it could be MJ, it could be Wayne Gretzky, Bobby Orr, Babe Ruth, all these people that are worshipped for their greatness, as well as in religion, whatever God someone may worship in their religion is praised and told legends of. And another example of religion and sport is a coach from East LA College, John Mosley. He would have a prayer with his team at the start of every game, either that or by himself, to kind of pray that the game goes well, no one gets injured, everyone stays safe. And for an example of that, one of his players, Damani, his father was in a tornado, and he prayed with his teammate to make his teammate feel better, to pray for his father's safety, to pray that everything was going to be okay. So lots of that religion can intersect with sport in lots of different ways, have it be the traits and rituals that it has or the impact it has on the people participating.